Hello and welcome back to Saxon Math. This is lesson 112, multiplying and dividing integers. We know that when we multiply two positive numbers, the product is positive. 3 times 4 equals 12. It's a positive times a positive equals a positive. Notice that when we write positive 3 times positive 4, there is no positive or negative sign between the sets of parentheses. When we multiply a positive number and a negative number, the product is negative. We show an example of this on this number line by multiplying 3 and negative 4. 3 times negative 4 means negative 4 plus negative 4 plus negative 4 plus negative 4. So you've got negative 4 plus negative 4 plus negative 4. Those will end up being a negative 12. 3 times a negative 4. We write the multiplication this way. 3 or positive 3 times a negative 4 equals negative 12. Positive times a negative equals a negative number or a negative answer. When we multiply two negative numbers, the product is positive. Consider this sequence of equations. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times the opposite of 4 is a negative 12. The opposite of 3 times the opposite of 4 is the opposite of 12. So the opposite of the opposite of 12. So you end up with a positive. So two negatives multiplied together ends up being that. Negative times a negative equals a positive. So positive times a positive is a positive. Negative times a negative is also a positive answer. The only time you'll have a negative answer is if one of those is a negative integer. So recall that we can rearrange the numbers of a multiplication fact to make two division facts. So if you have 3 times 4 equaling 12, 12 divided by 3 equals a positive 4, and 12 divided by 4 equals a positive 3. 3 times a negative 4 equals a negative 12. If you have a negative 12 divided by a positive 3, you will end up with a negative 4. If you have a negative 12 divided by a negative 4, you end up with a positive 3. Also, if you have a negative 3 times a negative 3 of a positive 12, positive 12 divided by a negative 3 equals a negative 4, and positive 12 divided by a negative 4 equals a negative 3. Studying these 9 facts, we can summarize the results in two rules. Rule number 1, if the two numbers in a multiplication or division problem have the same sign, the answer is positive. If the two numbers so this is rule number 2, if the two numbers in a multiplication or division problem have different signs, the answer is negative. So for example, let's calculate 8 times 4. First of all, you might know the number as 32. Now what is the symbol? Is it going to be a positive or negative? And you see they're both positives, so it should be a positive symbol. 8 divided by 4. You might know the numerical value of that. 8 divided by 4 equaling 2. And it's a positive and a positive, which means your answer should be a positive as well. Letter C, positive 8 times a negative 4. Again, you know the numerical value is 32. 8 times 4 is 32. But because only one of these integers is a negative, the answer is going to be a negative. The same goes for the division. You're going to end up with a negative 2 in this case. Negative 8 times a positive 4. Again, you know what the number is, 32. And because one of those is negative, the answer has to be 32, negative 32. Same goes for this one. This would be negative 2. Negative 8 times a negative 4. Again, you know the numbers will be 32, but because both are the same symbols, it'll be a positive 32 for the answer. Positive. Same goes for division. You know what 8 divided by 4 is, you know that that's 2, but it's a positive 2 because both are negative answers there. So make sure you realize that and recognize that if they are the same symbol, it will be a positive answer in both multiplication and division. If it is a different symbol, if one of those is negative and the other is positive, it doesn't matter if it's addition or multiplication or division, the answer, the quotient, and the product will have a negative answer. All right, first predict which problems will have a positive answer and which will have a negative answer, then simplify each problem. For our purposes here, you can just go ahead and simplify the problems. So for letter A, what is negative 5 times a positive 4? You should know that 5 times 4 is 20, and then look at the two symbols. They're two differing symbols, so the answer should be negative 20. For B, you have negative 5 times a negative 4. You know that 5 times 4 is 20. Again, you look at the symbols, they're the same. Because they're the same, it's a positive answer. You can either just leave 20 as it is or put a positive sign in front of it. Doesn't really matter. It's both correct. Letter C, positive 5 times a positive 4. In this case, again, you know what 5 times 4 is 20. They're both the same symbol, so that means the answer has to be a positive answer. And then letter D, positive 5 times a negative 4. You end up with 5 times 4 again, which is 20, but you look at it and you have a negative 4 and you have a positive 5, so that means the answer has to be negative because they're differing symbols. Letter E, if you have positive 12, so I'm just going to write 12 divided by a negative 2 like that. I know that this is 6, and because one is positive and the other is negative, my answer has to be negative. Letter F, I have 12 again, can look like that, and 2 can look like that. Most of us already know that's 6. Letter G, negative 12 divided by positive 2 is still 6, but now the negative is in the inside there. That means your quotient has to be a negative answer. And then if you have negative 12 and divided by a negative 2, that's what H is here, you'd end up with a positive 6. All right, excellent work. That's it for today. Make sure you do your written practice 1 through 30 again to make sure you get as much practice from previous lessons as possible. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.